And we strongly oppose this bill.
Okay, seeing no more opposition, let me begin the discussion, Senator, by commending you for your work in this area. I know a number of legislators have brought similar measures, some of the provisions we're discussing today, before this body in the past few years. It's clearly an important public policy discussion, and there's broad support and opposition on your particular measure. In your opening comments, you focused on what I think is the more important point, which is that there's broad agreement, certainly between myself and the proposed committee amendments and much of what you're trying to do. There is a point of contention over the definition, and let me, just for the consideration of the members and the discussion, quickly review the proposed committee amendments. The first one is the area of disagreement, striking the definition of tobacco product using the Health and Safety Code definition in place, which still allows us to deal with the licensure and smoke-free laws, the consumer protections, and public health issues. The Second Amendment requiring age verification upon mail delivery of e-cigarettes. The third, prohibiting e-cigarettes from being sold, offered for sale, or distributed from a vending machine. And the fourth, requiring child-resistant packaging of e-cigarettes. This is a provision currently in SB 438 by Senator Hill. I think it's a good provision. I think the addition of those provisions strengthen the bill. And with the adoption of all of the committee amendments, you'll certainly have my support here today, and I would hope broader support here in the committee. With that, I'm going to open it up for discussion. I see Mr. Perea. We'll recognize you first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like the chair to the author, I just want to commend you on the work that you're doing on this bill. I think, I mean, you're no stranger to difficult issues, and this is certainly one of those. And so I want to thank you for the work that you're doing on this. And I apologize, I missed most of the testimony. I think I came in towards the end of
I'll have the video sent to your office.
I think I came in towards the end of yours, which you said something that I wanted to ask you if you could expand a little bit more, because I think it goes to this idea, this question of the definition, because that really seems to be the bone of contention here is, should these products be defined as the same way as tobacco products? You had a device that you used that said that it doesn't have nicotine in it. Can you? I don't understand the vaping world, so I don't know what this is all about. But can you just talk a little bit more about the different types of devices, types that don't have nicotine, some that do? I mean, can you just explain to me a little bit more?
This industry, when it was built, there were some that wanted to use e-cigarettes to not only get off cigarettes, but also get themselves off of nicotine. And so from 2009 onward, there have been nicotine-free products. And so what you have is the Altrias and Reynolds of the world. They only sell nicotine-containing products. Their products look like cigarettes. They contain cartridges, and they differ in color from cigarettes. They are shaped just like them. Now, the vapor product industry, all the people behind us, all use products like this. You buy e-liquid. This one does have a child-resistant cap that would comply with the amendment. And you buy tanks or other things that you put the liquid in. And you buy the device separately. And from the looks of it, FDA regulation of vapor products will only be covering products that are sold as containing nicotine or a component of a product that is sold with nicotine. And so there are a lot of unanswered questions about what exactly will be a tobacco product under federal law, but it appears plainly clear to me as an attorney who's studied the Tobacco Control Act for many years that the devices themselves, if they do not contain nicotine, as well as nicotine-free e-liquids, will not be tobacco products, but under SB 140 as passed by the Senate, they would be.
Do we know when the FDA will be coming out with their rules?
They are now saying end of summer, early fall. It had been June, but there are a lot of issues. Congress is actually dealing with some of it right now. There's a lot of concern that the FDA regulation, if it is not changed, could end up pretty much putting every small business in this room out of business. So there's a lot of FDA is really concentrating, really looking at the evidence.
So, but under the current bill as proposed, products, and maybe this is a question to the author, products with or without nicotine would be classified as tobacco?
Thank you for letting me respond, Assemblyman. So first of all, there are claims that there are e-cigarettes without nicotine. But this is an unregulated industry, so claims may not be true. And in fact, there are peer-reviewed, respected studies led by Stanley Glantz, professor at University of California, San Francisco, which have documented that products that claim to have no nicotine, in fact, contain nicotine. So that's point one. Point two, if they are cessation devices, and I want to say bravo, sincerely, to all these folks who came today to say that they have not used cigarettes since they've used e-cigarettes, and that they're clearly cessation devices. Well, the Enjoy lawsuit notwithstanding, where they argued that they were tobacco products and won that case, that notwithstanding, if they are cessation devices, it's as simple as the industry making application to the Food and Drug Administration to become a cessation device. But they haven't done that, and they're not proposing to do that. And if they do, and I encourage them to do so if they are sincere, clearly these would be the ones without nicotine, make your case, go to the FDA, and if you become a cessation device, this bill as written will not impact you, because this only deals with tobacco products, not cessation devices.
Sure.
But there's a way to become a cessation device, and this industry has not pursued that path.
Well, thank you for that response. I appreciate that. I mean, I've really struggled with this bill, and it's mostly around the definition. I think, colleagues, I think it would be a mistake not to do something in this arena. I think we've seen this bill so many times in different versions. I think we should begin to address the issue. I just wonder if, based on the author's comments, based on the comments from the opposition, and what the FDA may or may not do, I just wonder if leaving the definition piece out is okay for now, to allow some of these other things to occur. I mean, if in fact there is no regulation or no standard that proves some products have nicotine or some don't, maybe you ought to be talking a little bit about that. I mean, I don't know. I just sort of throw that out as an idea, not necessarily to apply in this bill, but just sort of something to think about. And so, I mean, look, I know that, as authors, our bills always get amended, and certainly I think every single one of mine has been amended in the last 2 weeks, taking out very critical pieces that I thought were important to things I was trying to advocate for. But having said that, I do think it would be a mistake not to do something in this arena and not to move a bill forward. And so, listening to the chair's amends, I think it's more than a halfway point. I think in your particular measure, you achieve what a lot of other people have not been able to achieve. I know it's not everything, but to me, it would seem like a lot. So I would be supportive of moving the bill as amended. In fact, I would make a motion to that effect.
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion.
leave it up to the author to decide if that's something the author wants to accept, but I'm certainly willing to put a motion on the table to move this bill forward as amended by the chair, because I do think it makes a lot of important changes. It doesn't get at that sort of the heart and the big piece of the definition, but I'm not sure I'm there yet on the definition. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be there down the road. I just think that there are still a few innings that still need to be played before we make a hard decision on that particular piece. So that would be my motion.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, may I respond to the Assemblyman?
Just 1 second. Senator, we have a motion. We have a second by Mr. Gibson. We have a third by Mr. Bigelow. Without objection, members, we can just adopt the amends. But to return to the Senator's point, that would return us to the main question of the bill, Senator. And to Mr. Prea's point, would you want to proceed further?
I would like to, first of all, could we have a roll call vote on the amendments? I'm requesting a roll call vote on the amendments.
It's not required. Without objection, there would be no roll call.
I'd like to ask a question of the author.
But with Assemblymember Levine asking for a roll call vote on that, we can go ahead and move.
Well, I'd also like to question the author about the amendments.
Okay, but on the point of the roll call, did you want to, are you silent on that then?
I'd like to ask a question, so I'd object to amending them before a question is asked.
Mr. Cooley has substituted for you and favors a roll call. So, Senator, we will do a roll call vote on
Thank
the
you.
amendments.
And before you take this roll call, because it is a very important point, it's the whole reason we're here. And that's why I wanted to respond, if briefly, before your roll call, to Assemblyman Perea.
Well, certainly the motion would be debatable, so we'll afford you,
Thank you
a moment to respond,
I
Senator.
appreciate that. So, and thank you for your graciousness. Assemblyman Perea, I think of you as one of the most rational members among the legislature, and I say that sincerely and complimentary. You're thoughtful and you're rational, and I want to have a rational conversation here. You were not in the room, so I'll show this to the committee a second time. This is the website of Vapor. They call themselves an innovative digital tobacco product. The industry. Now, Mr. Conley, I have your name right?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Conley may argue back, and he's an attorney, I'm not, so I should be very careful here, that this is R.J. Reynolds, and they've got a different agenda from the non-big tobacco. I'll get to that in a second. But R.J. Reynolds says, we are a tobacco product. They go on to say about their product, they do not burn tobacco, but rather heat liquid containing nicotine derived from tobacco. As you heard the doctor say, or you didn't hear, the doctor spoke, there's only one place from which nicotine comes. It's tobacco. Federal definition of a tobacco product is any product that comes or derived from tobacco. You don't have nicotine without tobacco. It's derived from, by federal definition, it's a tobacco product. So for those e-cigarette products that have have nicotine, I don't know how a rational person can conclude it's not a tobacco product. It is. Also by federal definition, also by determination of the FDA and pending regulations. Now, for those that may or may not have, and we don't know because they're unregulated, they claim they are, they don't have to prove it to anybody, but if there are, in fact, products for e-cigarettes that do not contain nicotine, as I said earlier, they have every opportunity to go to the FDA and say, we're not nicotine, test our products, we're a cessation device, we get people off of cigarettes. They can do that, they have not. So the bill without that First Amendment that you're about to all vote on makes complete sense. It is counterintuitive to vote aye on this First Amendment, to take out the words tobacco product. And again, there is reason why there are those who would like to take the words tobacco product out. Because then R.J. Reynolds, and here's a story from Philip Morris to debut e-cigarette with real tobacco. They're taking the next step. And there are also studies that have shown that as the industry continues to grow, the content of the nicotine increases because it's addictive. They've got you. They'll get you more. Now, again, if you got a product without, go to the FDA, prove you don't have nicotine, and become a cessation device. And then I just want to read last advertisement here. This is from Mark 10. Again, their website advertisement. Voluntarily, Mark 10 puts on its advertisement, warning, this product is not intended for use by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding, or persons with or at risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, or taking medicine for depression or asthma. Nicotine is addictive and habit-forming, and it is very toxic by inhalation. They put this on their product voluntarily because they know the risks of it. They know it is nicotine, and they know it comes from tobacco. So I would urge you to support the Second and Third and Fourth Amendments. I appreciate the chair. Make good sense. But to move forward with this is not a tobacco product is a very dangerous thing to do. And should a majority of those voting today support all four amendments, not only do I walk away from the bill, the American Cancer Society walks away from the bill. The American Heart Association walks away from the bill. The Lung Association walks away from the bill. The CMA walks away from the bill. The Narcotics Officers Association walks away. And the police chiefs all walk away. We all walk away. It is no longer our bill. It cannot move forward with any of our blessings because it is a dangerous thing to do, because all these folks say they've left cigarettes. That's a good thing. Now, I also have to say that no jobs will be lost. The only difference between, if our bill is going to kill jobs in all those small vape shops, the way the chair wants to amend the bill and you're about to vote to do, we'll do the same thing. The only difference is whether it's a tobacco product. Bless everyone's heart here who has left cigarettes. That's a good thing for everybody. I'm here today, and all of our sponsors are here today to protect the children. And if it's not defined as a tobacco product, they'll still market to our children. They'll still hook our children. And that's why it's such an important difference. So I thank you for your time. I know you're going to take your vote.
Well,
I urge a no vote.
Senator, thank you for your comments. That's the first invitation I've had in my short career to join you on the job killer list, but I will certainly
And it's not true on either of our parts. It just isn't true. It isn't true.
Any further debate on the motion? I see, I know Mr. Prey wanted to follow up, and then Mr. Cooley, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Linder. So,
all right.
some discussion.
Am I first?
Mr. Prey, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'll be very brief because I know a lot of other members want to speak, and I don't want to turn this into a debate other than to say that what concerns me and where I really struggle with the definition piece is to the gentleman here that testified that his product, which doesn't contain nicotine, would be caught up in the construct and framework of SB 140. And your response to that is, well, but there's an out. They can go to the FDA, they can file this petition, and I'm not familiar with this process, but they can go do this. I worry that we put these folks who don't have nicotine in their product and it sounds like most of them are pretty small businesses, small shops throughout the state. I think I heard a couple of people testify from Fresno. I worry that if there's the shop owner, it's him and 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, do they have the resources, do they have the time to not only go through the process of FDA, but actually wait for the FDA? And I don't know how long it takes for the FDA to get back to them, but if the federal government is anything like the state government, it takes a long time before these bureaucracies provide approvals for these types of products. So I just worry that if we do the definition now, that we have a whole group of individuals who will get caught up in this sort of political, bureaucratic thing when they don't have to be. So that's why I think that, again, it would be a mistake not to do something on this measure. That's why I think the rest of the bill makes a lot of sense, because we're moving the ball forward and still give us some time to figure out whether or not the definition, how we play out that definition piece. And I'm not saying I would be opposed to the definition maybe a year from now, or, well, really just a year from now because I'm gone at the end of next year, would be my last shot to weigh in. But just having said that, I just think we need more information, because I don't want there to be collateral damage for some folks in this definition piece. I'll end my piece
just
there,
let me point out,
I just wanted to respond
Let me just point out real briefly that none of these shops will be impacted with Amendment 1 or without Amendment 1. They won't be impacted at all. They don't have to go to the FDA to become a cessation device. This bill will not ban anything that they're doing, and proof of it is, at least a number of them said they were from San Jose, from San Francisco, San Diego. Guess what? Those cities already have that which this bill proposes without the First Amendment as law currently. And they're in business, and they're doing fine, and they don't want us to do anything. We're not doing anything, proposing anything that is going to impact them. They're already living with a local ordinance that does what I'm suggesting we do. So that's a false argument, I'm sorry to say, and no one has to go to the FDA to apply. I'm just saying that if you, innovative entrepreneur, do have a non-nicotine e-cigarette product, and some claim they have, no one's stopping them from getting the recognition as a cessation device. I hope that helps.
Okay, members, the motion, we've allowed Senator Leno to respond, but the motion's before us with a second that we've asked for a roll call vote. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the Secretary to call the roll. But let me remind everybody what we're voting for here. Mr. Perea has moved to adopt the committee amendments in their entirety. That's all 4 amendments as brought before. You have a support position from the chair, a support position from the vice chair, and members will return to the debate on the bill post this roll call. So, Secretary.
A substitute motion for just amendments 2, 3, and 4.
That motion would be out of order.
No, it would take precedent, actually.
To amend the amendments.
To offer a different amendment takes precedent over the one before the body.
So you're offering a substitute motion to amend the motion, to adopt the committee amendments.
2, 3, and 4 separately.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and call the roll on the substitute motion. The chair has a opposed position, and the vice chair has an opposed position. Secretary, please call the roll. So, members, before us we have a substitute motion offered by Mr. Cooley to amend the original motion, which was to adopt all of the committee amendments. Mr. Cooley has proposed a substitute motion to adopt amendments 2, 3, and 4. Mr. Mays.
Point of order. The authors already accepted 2, 3, and 4, so I'm not sure the substitute motion would be in order.
But the body hasn't acted on it, so that's why there is an amendment, and it's an appropriate one.
Mr. Mays, we're going to inquire as to your point of order, sir.
No, I said I would take them as authored amendments. Well, the body hasn't voted on it, so it's conjecture until then. That's why it's an appropriate motion.
Sort of by acclamation, that we've accepted that.
Okay, members. We have some clarity, Senator, on the motions before us. The vote will be on the substitute motion offered by Mr. Cooley, whether to accept it or to not accept the substitute motion, which is Amendments 2, 3, and 4, not all of the amendments as proposed by the committee. So, again, the vote, members, is to accept the substitute motion 2, 3, and 4 offered by Assemblymember Cooley. The chair has an opposed position. The vice chair.
Point of clarification. If we approve Mr. Cooley's motion, then we go after that to the original motion, which would include the First Amendment as well.
No, if we approve Mr. Cooley's motion, that would be the motion.
Then the recommendation.
If we defeat Mr. Cooley's motion, we return to the original motion by Mr. Perea.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. In that case, then my recommendation would be a oppose.
Okay, members, you have a
And the author recommends an aye.
Secretary, please call the roll. This
Gray?
is no.
Gray, no. Linder?
No.
Linder, no. Ashajian? Alejo? Alejo not voting. Bigelow? No. Bigelow, no. Campos? Cooley? Aye. Cooley, aye. Cooper?
Aye.
Cooper, aye. Daly? No. Daly, no. Christina Garcia? Eduardo Garcia? Gibson? No. Gibson, no. Hernandez? Jones Sawyer? No. Jones Sawyer, no. Levine?
Aye.
Levine, aye. Mays?
No.
Mays, no. Perea? Perea, no. Salas? Steinnorth? No. Steinnorth, no. Waldron? No. Waldron, no. Wilk?
Okay, members, the motion fails, and we return to the original motion by Mr. Perea. Secretary, please call the roll. The chair has an aye recommendation.
Vice Chair is also aye recommendation.
This is a motion to adopt the committee amendments in the entirety, 1, 2, 3, and 4, as noted in the analysis. Secretary?
Gray?
Aye.
Gray, aye. Linder?
Aye.
Linder, aye. Ashajian? Ashajian, aye. Alejo? Alejo not voting. Bigelow? Campos? Bigelow, aye. Yes. Campos not voting. Cooley? No. Cooley, no. Cooper?
No.
Cooper, no. Daly?
Aye.
Daly, aye. Christina Garcia? Eduardo Garcia? Gibson? Aye. Gibson, aye. Hernandez? Jones Sawyer? Aye. Jones Sawyer, aye. Levine?
No.
Levine, no. Mays?
Aye.
Mays, aye. Perea?
Aye.
Perea, aye. Salas? Steinnorth? Aye. Steinnorth, aye. Waldron? Aye. Waldron, aye. Wilk?
Aye.
Wilk, aye.
Okay, the motion passes. The committee amendments in their entirety are adopted. We return to the main question before us, which is Senator Leno's bill. Senator, how would you like to proceed?